So hi sir, today we are going to discuss about the stock market, and this is part 1 of the video series wherein we are going to discuss about what is stock market, what is a market driven economy, and what is a what is a trading market versus an investment market.
Correct.
Yes. So sir, first
Okay.
question,
Yes.
what is a stock market?
See, basically, let's keep it very simple. Basically, stock market, you can consider it's a place where you can deal with shares of a particular company. Now simple example that let's take an example of TCS or maybe a Wipro or maybe a Reliance. Like the way they are doing business, sometimes we feel to give them money so that they can utilize our money in the best possible way. We will say stock market is a place where people would love to invest their money. People would love to park their money. Now, what happens here? Like companies like TCS, Wipro, or maybe Reliance, they are doing fantastic business. Bajaj Auto doing fantastic business. Now we feel that if we want to give them money, so that our money is being utilized in the best way and we get good returns. So now what is been done? These companies are listed in the stock market. So instead of giving them money directly, we are buying shares of those companies.
Okay.
So now share is nothing but a part of total share capital. So it's just a contribution made by one individual in the whole share.
Got it.
And what we expect that by putting money, those companies will use that money in a right way. They will grow their business and they will help us to multiply our money.
Got it.
For that purpose, we deal in shares.
Okay.
And that is each and every shares are being listed in stock market. Majorly, we have two: Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange.
Got it. Okay.
Like we all have heard Sensex. That is BSE. And Nifty 50 is NSE.
Okay, got it.
So just to give you a gist about Sensex, that is top 30 companies, Sensex. And top 50 companies is Nifty.
Got it. So then what is the complexity around this? Like, why is it so complex and why is it so intimidating to get into this stock market?
See, one thing, Manav, we all need to understand that stock market or bond market is very, very, very complex. Because I am in this market since 2007.
Got it.
And today we are 2020. Still, there are so many things which I am learning every day. So the learning keeps on continuing. But what is my thought process? That your vision and your thoughts should be very, very clear that what you want to achieve from the stock market.
Okay.
Today people are criticizing कि stock market में पैसा डूब जाता है, loss होता है, stock market बेकार है. See, with due respect to those people, first and foremost reason of saying all this is that stock market is bekar is lack of knowledge. And second, greed to earn more money.
Okay.
तो अगर ये दो चीज है, then stock market is not for you or for anybody.
Got it.
You have to understand that where you are putting your money, whom you are giving your money, and what that company is doing. If you don't know, then you are wasting your time and you are taking risk with your money. Simple.
Got it. Okay. Got it. But then it is a very complex market, as you said. So what is the root cause of the complexity? Is this just the number of people dealing, or is it something else?
See, there is a area called as operators. You would have heard who operate a particular script. See, today what is happening? N number of insider trading, scams, issues, unethical way of doing business is taking place.
Okay.
Whether the balance sheets and P&L are absolutely true and fair, we don't know. because every alternate month we will see something new is happening in the stock market.
Exactly.
ILFS scam, Yes Bank has come up with some problem. People are removing money from IndusInd Bank. So all these negative sentiments are hurting the stock market.
Okay.
People are not getting proper clarity to whom to trust. Now, people like you and me, we don't run the stock market. Big investors do, like Rakesh Jhunjhunwala, Vijay Kedia. They run the stock market. Corporates run the stock market. Government run the stock market. Institutes like LIC runs the stock market. Point is very simple. Where they are putting their money, we should put our money. But we should know where actually they are putting their money.
Got it.
That, yes. So for this, good amount of research, reading, interaction with top-minded people is required.
Okay.
If you want to make something big.
So then let's understand this. So you're saying that there is a limited number of people who are actually controlling this, and there is one set of a lot of people who are just following this, who are impacted by this,
blindly following
this. So that is where the complexity arises.
Now, simple, if I tell you, example I will give you. What is the problem? Say, example, if I tell Manav, this Tata Motors looks very good. Buy, it will be double in next 2 months. Now, this is called as tip. This is called as karma marketing. You believe in your karma. You think that someone has told me to buy Tata Motors and it will go up, it will increase. But you don't know what Tata Motors is doing, how much debt he has, what is the problem, what good things Tata Motors have. Someone has told to buy, that's why we are buying. Someone has told to sell, that's why we are selling. That is wrong.
Exactly. But then sometimes what I feel, now this is what I feel that the market price is not completely dependent on the company's performance. Because I see companies performing
not
good.
100%.
Exactly. I have seen companies performing good but have fallen in the price.
So Manav, can I presume that your question is around how to make money in stock market?
To a certain extent, yes.
See, one thing, I will address this to all the viewers who are watching, who are going to see this video. See, if anyone is looking for getting a short-term returns in stock market, then you should have very good knowledge about technical analysis, that is reading charts and everything. And secondly, you should control your emotions. That is the greed factor. Like I know one person, his name is Mr. Rao. He's a South Indian. That person is a very good in technical analysis, reading charts. And that person is doing a research in one company called as Grasim Industries, Aditya Birla Group. What that person does, every day he will buy Grasim shares, he will sell same day. Every day he will buy, he will sell same day. And his target is to earn 7,000 to 10,000 rupees every day.
Got it.
Not more than that. Even if he's getting more than that, he will not take it. He will book the profits, he will go. See, he's controlling his emotions. He's controlling his greed. He has a good knowledge about technical analysis. He's earning money.
Got it. So
short-term earning. Every day he's earning 5,000-7,000.
Got it.
This is possible, but this type of discipline we people should have if we want to earn short-term profits.
Got it. So I think that is where algorithmic trading comes into the picture, wherein people control.
That's right. So I started saying knowledge is important.
You started with that.
Yeah.
So, okay. So now we'll move on to the next question, which is, what is the difference between an investor and a trader? Because the market is with these people, right?
Okay. Now, trader is a person who will do business or who will do trading for short period. 1 day, 2 days, maybe a week, intraday trading, futures and options. Basically, is not ready to buy those shares. He wants to play with those shares. He's not interested what Reliance is doing. He's interested what price is doing. Price of Reliance.
Exactly.
So with the help of certain technical analysis, with the help of certain tip, with the help of certain inside information, trading takes place to a vast extent because people don't want to block their money for a longer period.
Got it.
Now, trader 90% will lose money if he's not disciplined, if he's not following certain rules. Like again, I will repeat the same thing. Trading will lead to more greed factor. Like say example, today if I booked a profit of 40,000 and tomorrow again I will enter the stock market. Okay, today also I will earn 40. Next day also I will earn 50. But this may not happen every day. Na? Sometimes you may lose also. So trading is high level of risk you are taking with your money. And secondly, you are not going to get any asset. You are going to play with that.
Got it.
So anyone who wants to get short-term returns, limited returns, has a more risk appetite, ready to take risk, then he or she can go for trading. There is no problem.
Yeah. Keep going.
He can go for trading. Yeah. But my advice, my personal advice to all my students, to all my colleagues, that please stay away from trading.
And why?
Trading is not anyone's cup of tea. Because see, end of the day, point number one, first of all, you will lose your hard-earned money if things are not in your favor. Second, you may borrow money and you may invest. Again, you will lose someone else's money. And third, you may borrow money from your parents and they will be at loss. Correct. Because there is no certainty whether you will earn or not in trading. Because you are buying, selling. But when to enter, when to sell, people don't know. But if anyone wants to become expert, then he should be highly expert in technical analysis. Highly expert.
So
not a basic knowledge.
Exactly. If you were to define technical analysis, what would it be? Just the reading of chart? Or it
is basically reading of charts. No, it is basically reading of charts. Okay, when there was a bottom, from where the stock price picked up, when it made an inverted U shape, when it was a bottom shape. So candlestick approach.
Makes sense.
So there is a separate course, there is a separate exam, a separate training institutes which train people for hardcore technical analysis. And after doing that, it is advisable to work under some broker. Take first-hand experience. Burn your fingers. Initially, people should lose money. And then you get experience, plus you have knowledge, and then you are well-versed with trading. Then you automatically become a bit serious with your money. You'll be very careful with the money. The greed factor will go away. You will not time the market because now you have already burned your fingers. You already have studied about all this.
So you've been through the learning curve of it.
Correct. Or second category, like say example, Manav wants to do trading in stock market. And I asked Manav, how much money you are ready to take risk? So your amount was 1 lakh rupees. But sir, 1 lakh rupees, I am ready to risk it. Now 1 lakh rupees is fine, but you will put 1 lakh only when you have 5 to 7 lakhs in your bank balance.
Okay.
You have 1 lakh rupees and you are taking the risk of full 1 lakh, then it is utter nonsense. Then always that fear will take over the knowledge. And there are 90% chances you may not earn money, or initially you may earn, but later on you will lose.
Got it.
But my personal advice, stay away from trading because market direction is not clear. Because there are so many developments happening across world. Across world developments. Yeah.
Well versed with the concept of it. Okay.
True.
So coming back to the first question over here, I want to interlink between the first question and the second question, which suggests that, so from what I see again, the complexity arises due to numbers, sheer numbers, lack of control, and types of mindset that is there. Correct? Because I see sheer numbers, there is a lot of people trading in the market, including corporates.
Yes.
And just
Very
general
true.
public. Correct. Plus with different mindsets and different approach. Either educated or uneducated. And what I also see is that the control is with major bankers and big players over here.
Okay.
So
yes.
This is what I see. Now, how correct am I over here?
See, big institutional players, they play a major role. Normal investors, people like you and me, medium-sized investors, we hardly contribute anything to the stock market. Like you will buy 100 shares, I will buy 50 shares, someone will buy 500 shares. That will not make any difference. Institutional clients are buying 20 lakh shares, 13 lakh shares, 5 lakh shares. So they trade in volumes. They are the market movers. And of course, the biggest component, FPI, foreign portfolio investors.
Okay.
So India's stock market is 20% owned by them. अगर इंडिया का स्टॉक मार्केट 100 है तो 20 रुपीस उनका. So they are again like from March 21st March onwards till date, these FPI have removed around 1 lakh crore from the stock market, almost around 1 lakh crore from the stock market because of this COVID-19. So whether they are active, inactive, that also plays a major role.
Exactly.
So even though the company is good, fundamentally looks good, everything is good, still you may lose money if you are into trading because your fundamentals don't work.
Exactly. So trading over here is more like a gamble game that you have to know the.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. You should be ready to burn your fingers. If you are ready to lose money, then enter.
Then enter.
I am not telling that every time you will lose, but you should be. Your risk appetite should be more. Very simple.
Exactly.
Those people can enter.
So if let's say someone my age wants to enter, then one way is to study and then work under a broker. Otherwise, because I don't have the risk
but coming to the main point, any newcomer, like say example, Manav wants to enter. Trading is strictly prohibited for a newcomer.
Okay.
Consider that there is no entry. You should not do trading, irrespective whether you have money or not. Now, my point is that first study about balance sheets, profit and loss, company's management, get into fundamental analysis. And a newcomer should invest for medium to long term.
Which will be
6-8 months, 1 year. 3 to 5 years. That should be the ideal strategy. Minimum 6 to 8 months, just to see the momentum of the shares, how the prices are moving. But maximum 3 to 5 years is a good zone, good horizon. That way a newcomer should start. Because a student who is into chartered accountancy or student who is doing MBA in finance, they will be well versed with certain financial terms, operating ratio, EPS, debt equity ratio. Study all this, apply in the particular script or with a company, read the balance sheet, and then think whether to put money in this company or not, whether money is going to multiply or not. See, this may happen if you put 10 rupees in ITC. See, ITC fundamentally looks very good, but if you put money in ITC, the next day it may go down by 5%. That is completely okay. Here you are not doing trading, you are an investor. You are going to hold ITC for 8 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. Then that short-term fluctuation should not matter. Because before investing, you have done a good study about the company, not the share price. About the company, how good the company is, how good the management is, what are the operating cash flow.
Got it.
Are the shares pledged or not? Everything. There are many areas to this.
So before buying,
my request would be go into fundamental analysis, buy a good script, hold it. And if you find 15-18% appreciation, sell it, book your profit.
Got it.
This is for a newcomer.
So instead of going for something like an SIP, you should rather do this.
Now see, SIP is a good thing, but who will do SIP? Who have zero knowledge about stock market. Secondly, not interested in getting a knowledge.
Okay, got it.
Third, wants to invest, but don't have time to take knowledge or not taking initiative to get a knowledge. So better to keep money in mutual funds. A fund manager, a professional expert will guide. So got SIP is good if you don't want to explore your knowledge.
But see over here,
direct equity.
Over here, my problem arises is that if I were to give my money to someone, then now my entire control of that money is with that said person, right?
Correct.
And that is where the fear comes. That is where people are against this whole concept.
Now, you are talking about mutual funds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now see, in mutual funds, what happens? There are certain good mutual fund schemes managed by good fund managers, genuinely good fund managers. Jitendra Shriram, Mihir Vora, Prashant Jain, Mahesh Patel. These all are top-notch fund managers. Okay. Now, the moment you give money to them, they will tell you in which all companies they have invested, what is the percentage of your money has been invested. And they are the one who will constantly keep a track record of your prices. Okay, when to exit, when to enter. Because they are expert in that field, they are highly qualified, they have 15-20 years of vast experience. They already know the good and the bad phase of it. Now see, end of the day, any investment in stock market is risky. You agree with that? Whether you go direct or through mutual funds or through PMS. So risk factor is going to come. But if given a choice that Manav will manage or an expert will manage, who has a better knowledge? Expert. Better experience, that expert has a better experience. What if Manav puts money on its own and if you lose everything, then again there will be a question mark. And what will be the question mark? Should I enter the market next time?
Got it.
Or not?
Exactly.
But whereas if you give it to the expert, so they are basically from that field itself. No? Then a bit of trust factor should be there. Subject to where you are putting money. Like few names I told right now. They are top notch. They are sharks of the market. So your money is absolutely safe with them. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So now after the detour, coming back to a certain bit of a sensitive issue over here. See, I follow an investor named Robert Kiyosaki. He's an American investor. Now, according to him, stocks, mutual funds, your
rich dad, poor dad.
Rich dad, poor dad, exactly. So he believes that stock, mutual funds, etc., are just paper investment. They are not real assets, right? He's more into commodities. He's more into real estate. So what would be your take on this statement exactly?
See, it's a perception. It's a mindset. Like if you take my thought process, my thing is that if I have 1 lakh rupees, then 10,000 I will put it in shares, 10,000 I will buy gold, 15,000 I will buy silver bar, some money I will keep in FD, some money I will keep as a precautionary motive. That is my thought process.
Exactly.
But whether it is real estate, whether it is gold, see, off late gold has gone up substantially. Gold has rallied like anything because it's a safe asset. But if you are an investor, mind my words, what I'm telling. If you are an investor, long-term investor, and if you select good companies, and if you are disciplined with your money, then you make huge money in long term, huge money. Like 12,000 rupees invested in MRF in 1989. 12,000 rupees invested in MRF in 1989. In 2013, it was 16 crore, 16 CR. So now, can I say this is a monumental jump? But then you need to hold it for 15, 20, 25 years. Then they will give you big dividend, big bonus, big appreciation. No doubt, they are paper asset. End of the day, it's a piece of paper. But the money where you are putting is a company, so-called genuine company. He is using your money. So it's a perception. I'm not telling that I am right, Robert is wrong. It's his thought process. So there are different ways of looking at it. Yeah.
Exactly. So a lot of ways. So it's not just like it's just a negative perception, but it's not completely the whole picture.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. So now let's say if someone were to invest, correct? So what percentage or what portion of his income should he be using for investment and for trading?
Like if I take a simple example, say example, person is earning 50,000 rupees a month. Say example, 10% should go in equities initially to begin with. That is, either you put 5,000 rupees directly in the stock market, or you start a 5,000 rupees ka SIP. And that to divide SIP into two parts. 2,500 one SIP, Axis Long-Term Equity Fund, 2,500 another SIP, HDFC Equity Fund, or maybe it could be ICICI Discovery Fund 2. So 2,500, 2,500. Overall, you are putting 5,000 rupees out of your total income. So 10 to 12% is advisable to keep it in the stock market initially.
Yeah. And that is from an investment point of view, correct?
Investment, yes.
Yeah.
See, if you gamble, then you should have a big money as a backup.
Exactly.
If you want to gamble, if you want to play, yeah, okay. If you are ready to lose money, then sky is the limit. Put whatever money you have. Then it's like a gambling, rightly said by you.
Got it.
So if you want to be very genuine enough, if you want to multiply money, start with 10-12% of your income.
Exactly. Got it. So now if we were to look at the economic impact of the market.
Okay.
And we were to look at the banking sector. Like there are two types, right? So one is a market driven economy, right? Which is something like what we see in the US. And one is a bank driven economy.
Right.
So what is the difference between these two, and how should one approach before selecting his investment with respect to these economies?
Now see, market driven economy. What is this basically market driven economy? It consists of all this, whether it is institutional, retailers, FPI, based on market news, what the government is doing, what other countries are doing. That is more of towards fiscal, how government is progressing, whether money is being utilized for productive purpose or not, which companies are getting orders, government orders. So that is more of market driven. It is a combination of many things. Certain things are beyond our control. Now, bank driven economy is more about interest rates. Whether bank and RBI are ready to pump money in the economy or not. Whether they are making credit available to corporates at lower rate or not. Then corporates will be encouraged to borrow. Then they may start a new project. So end of the day, market driven, bank driven, they both flow with each other together, back to back. So it is a combination of fiscal and monetary. And according to fiscal and monetary, stock market moves.
Exactly.
But if we take today's scenario, today market is behaving exactly opposite. Like COVID-19 problem, no doubt market went down. Last 1.5 months back, it went down like a hell. Again, it has gone up. So it's a high level of volatility which is happening. Now, any good news or bad news, you cannot guarantee whether stock price will go up or go down. It may behave opposite also. Like the reduction in repo rate and reverse repo rate may not be that positive. Because today government is focusing on supply side issues. No? Problem is demand side. So market may not be that cheered up. Okay, rate of interest is less, loans are available at less rate of interest, but corporates don't want to borrow. So that impact won't be seen in stock market.
Makes sense. So like the primary difference is from what I see is between control. So in a bank driven economy, the central bank has major control over the economy. And in a market, there is more of a market forces control, which is out of one person's hand.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So now if I were to divide the pros and cons of these two, what would you suggest? Like what would be the pros of this side and that side?
No, can you be a little precise?
Okay.
First of all, I am addressing to a newcomer or what?
You're addressing to students. So a very rookie phase, a very beginner phase. Okay. So let's say the pros of a bank driven economy would be that there is one body who is to control. So if he is responsible, that body is responsible, there will be a better stability process over here. Similarly.
Now, see, now what happens, even if we discuss pros and cons, okay, anyone who is investing in stock market, can I say he or she has to live with it? You cannot exclude bank driven, you cannot exclude economy driven, market driven economy. You have to go with it. What is my suggestion? What I do is keeping all news aside. Keeping all news aside, because the news will come and go. Good things, bad things, expansions, contractions will take place. Stock market operates on a very simple philosophy. That you identify few stocks, few companies which are actually healthy, good business. They should not be in any cyclical business. Like best example I will give you, like Britannia Industries. So whether it is a prosperity or whether it is a recession, people are going to eat Britannia biscuit. Non-discretionary. So point is, select those companies which have a potential to grow in any circumstance, any situation. Like let's take the example of Bharti Airtel. Now, can I say internet and Wi-Fi is inelastic? So Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio they are going to do good because people cannot survive without internet, boss. People will not see whether I have money or whether economy has money, whether it is recession. I have to arrange 250 rupees for my recharge and I will arrange anyhow. Boss, I want internet. Can I say companies like Jio, Bharti Airtel, Britannia, Marico, which produces parachute oil, they are going to do business. They are going to get money, come what may, because they are into that business which people needs, people-driven business. Any situation, they will earn money. Pharmaceutical. So we need to identify 4 or 5 companies with a very good background, good promoter, overall situation and good balance sheet, and keep on putting money on those companies, diversified, no doubt, for a longer period. Then market news or bank news should not matter. Whether repo rate is going up or going down, or whether tax is going up or down, that should not matter. Because you have bought that company which is gold, which is going to perform, which has huge assets. Then you should be having good faith and trust.
Got it.
Like so, today, HDFC Bank, one of the biggest private sector bank. Today it is available for 800, 850 rupees. It's a dirt cheap price. So start accumulating HDFC Bank. Put money in Hindustan Unilever. Buy Wipro ke shares. Buy Bharti Airtel. Buy 5 stocks, 5 scripts. Put 5,000, put 2,000. But accumulate good companies, which has a very long-term future.
So how long are we going? Are we going like 20 years, 10 years? How long are we thinking? Before
from students' perspective, 10 years.
10 years minimum.
Like if your age today is 20, say example. If your age is 20, so by the time you are 30, 32, you should have good amount of money coming to you by selling those shares. So in a span of 10 years, you easily multiply, you are giving enough time to multiply your money. So 10 years, bare minimum. If anyone wants to be an investor, if anyone wants to hold it, then it should be 10 years, come what may.
10 years is a minimum requirement if you want to enter this market.
I have a simple reason for this. Simple reason for this. Can I say today, 2020, worst year? Everyone is experiencing the worst year today. Now today, everything is available at dirt cheap price. You buy any shares, it's at a lower price, except Reliance. Every share price has gone down like anything. Today, if you buy quality stocks and by the time 2030 comes, can I say you have bought at lower price and in future you can sell at higher price? Because already the stocks have bottomed out. Already the market negativity has been priced in. Now you are buying at a very low price, and in future, once the market goes up, once the situation becomes normal, then they are going to give you superb returns. And rightly said by Warren Buffett, be greedy when others are fearful.
Got it.
So this is the time to accumulate. Hold it. Hold right, sit tight is the mantra.
Oh, got it. So let's say if you are selling, you're saying that we should diversify, right? Coming back to the point of diversification over here. How should one select? Like if one were to select these companies, what should be the thought process for selecting?
See, first, get into one telecom company because future is digital. Digital is the world. Okay. Go with one telecom company. Then select a company which is into non-durable goods like Marico. Then you have Godrej Industries. Then Hindustan Unilever. Select one. Then select a very good, healthy private sector bank like HDFC or Kotak Mahindra. Then select one public sector bank. See, this is risky at current moment.
Okay.
Public sector bank like SBI can never fail. SBI is too big to fail. It's an associate of RBI. So select one healthy public sector bank. Okay. Then anytime, can I say Reliance is must?
Okay.
It's by default. There is no thought process. And to be very specific to all those who are seeing this video, I'm talking about Mota Bhai, Mukesh Ambani, not the younger one.
Got it. I think Reliance
my message could be
Yeah.
Correct. Now it is Mukesh Ambani only. Yeah. Because the expanse what that man has is of a different level.
Got it. Exactly. So now again, you gave me industries over here. So step one will be to identify an industry.
Correct.
Now, where
basically see the companies which I have told, these companies will have a regular cash flow. पैसा आते रहता है. They don't have to wait for the customer. When customer will come, customer is going to come what.
So your selection of industry should be based on cash inflow only, right? For example, it should be a non-elastic demand.
Cash inflow.
Yeah.
Majorly
non-elastic demand. Because from whatever I see, telecom is non-elastic, non-durable goods is non-elastic. I think FMCG would also be a good industry to invest.
Yes. FMCG includes Marico, Hindustan Unilever.
Yeah, so non-durable.
It includes fast-moving consumer goods. Yeah.
So we have that. Then we have these banks. So why specifically banks should one invest in?
If India wants to grow, then banking has to grow. Because finance is the backbone for any economy. And bank is the one who is going to provide money and credit. So bank is that sector which is going to provide oxygen to the economy, oxygen to the business. So it becomes very important to park money in good quality banks. Because late, what I feel is public sector banks mein merger hone wala hai. quite a few mergers have already been done. Few more will take place. And 5 to 6 healthy private sector banks will survive. Others will shut down, or they will wind up, or they will get amalgamated or merged with some big bank. So 5 to 6 top banks will survive. So banking is must. Yes. Today's situation is bad, banking. But near to medium to near term situation looks good.
Okay. So that is why one
subject to there are no internal frauds.
One should always invest in. But there's a fear with banks today, at least when people see. That is the reason people are moving to the market as well, because there is a fear when it comes to parking money in banks.
See, absolutely is a fear. But can I say, that's what I told, na? When the whole environment is fearful, can I say you are getting certain scripts at a very low price?
Got it.
So we are not telling you to keep everything in the bank. Are we telling to buy all the shares of banks?
No.
When we talk about diversification, out of 100 rupees, give 5 rupees to banks.
Got it. So these are
because when stock market goes up, then bank nifty goes up.
Bank nifty also goes up, exactly. So these are primarily the industries that one should select, right?
Right. And to add Pharmaceuticals
also, okay. So now the question,
Dr. Reddy, Glenmark, Lupin.
So now the question comes, we know on what basis we selected the industries, correct? Now can we understand on what basis do we select the companies?
Companies in what sense?
Every
particular company or telling?
Yeah. So let's say telecom, I have to select one company. On what basis do I define that?
See, first of all, who is the market leader? Touch that market leader first. Now, it's not necessary that market leader will be doing good or his share price will be doing good. We don't know. He is a market leader, but he may not be performing good. But start with a market leader. And here you need to study in depth regarding financial statements. You should have a thorough knowledge about financial statements. What are the future orders that company is going to receive? Then is companies under some litigation? What is the promoters holding in that company? How much FPI have put money in this company? Are any shares been pledged by the promoter? Next, what is the debt equity ratio? If the debt levels are unsustainable, if debt levels are ballooning like anything, then it is a red flag. Then it's a warning signal. Be little careful. And look at the PE ratio, price to earning ratio. So if it is in the range of 10 to 15, PE ratio the range of 10 to 15. So it's a good point to enter. But if the PE ratio is about 25, 30, 35, it is already overvalued. And overall, the business has been done, whether ethically, unethically.
I lost you again.
Okay, so I was telling, then overall business scenario you need to see whether the business has been done ethically, unethically, any criminal cases against the promoter. Then overall market news can help you with the company.
Okay. So
likewise you can select. It's a long process. It's not a 1 day or 2 day process. You selected a company and you invested. So it will take you around 7-8 days to study the company.
And then the process starts of buying that share.
Absolutely, yes. And that too, what is the best point to enter? So when market is falling at that time, you can accumulate.
Got it. But now here's the problem. Here's the problem of it, correct? So you gave a lot of emphasis towards the PE ratio, right? Now, if I'm doing my research for 7-8 days, I might miss out on the best time to enter. And I might end up entering at the worst point of time.
Absolutely, yes. Now, one thing you have to understand, that if your thought is long term, like if you are putting money for long term, then bottom fishing people should not do. That what is the best price to enter? Shall I wait further to go down, then I will buy, or whether the price will go up or not? No. Look at 52-week high. What is the price 52-week high? And compared to that, if you are getting at a very low price, 52-week low, near to somewhere near 52-week low, at least keeping that thing as a benchmark, go about it.
Okay.
Because your way is long term, na? You are not playing short term. Then entry point should not matter much.
Exactly. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. So, okay, if I were to summarize this entire point, step 1, to select an industry on the basis of non-elastic demand and the product that industry serves. Step 2, select the market leader of that industry, the person who controls the market in that industry. Step 3 would be to go about your numbers and your fundamental analysis.
Yes.
Step 4 would be to do research on the management and the ethics of the management. And step 5 would be then would come the point of comparing the price. Tab tak price ka game.
Comparing the price. Yes, yes. So this is not for traders. This is not.
This is for investors, because trading is something you said that you are completely against. So we won't go on that route at all.
Correct.
Okay, so just a quick summary of this entire conversation, and then we end the video. So number 1, we discussed about what is the stock market, which is basically a marketplace where companies are treated as products and investors are the buyers of the.
Right.
Number 2, we discussed the difference between trading and investing, which is trading is a short-term game plan wherein you just gamble with your money and you need a lot of skills for that. Investment, on the other hand, is a long-term plan. You need a lot of research for that. Keyword is skill
and I again to repeat, those who are into trading and those who want to get into trading. 2 things very important. In fact, 3 things. First, knowledge. Second, controlling emotions. Third, risk appetite for traders.
So knowledge.
3 things are vital.
So trading, skill, knowledge, risk appetite, and go with your head and not your heart. Follow your head, not your heart.
Perfect.
And in terms of investment, time, the biggest factor is time. You have to hold it at least 10, 12 years down the lane. You cannot, so you need time, you need liquidity apart from this, because you're blocking so much, you need other liquid cash with you. Next thing you need is good research and ability for research. And lastly is when you go for your price.
Right. And very important, just to add, if you want to make long-term money, whenever market falls, put little every time in a particular shares. Keep on doing a top up whenever there is a big fall. Like this is the crisis going on. So people who are sitting on cash, they will take the opportunity of this crisis. So whenever there is a big fall, or when the cycle comes after 6-8 months again, then people should top up a bit, top up their investments. Then they get a good chance to multiply.
Exactly. But only on those.
That's right.
Okay.
Because they are well researched companies, right?
So you know a lot about them. Like you can trust that with your gut. Okay.
Yeah.
So, sir, if we are talking about long term, can we talk about the compounding effect over here? But from the stock market perspective. So can you throw a little light on the compounding effect?
Now, what happens here? I gave the example that 10,000 invested in MRF became 16 crore. So can I say there was a split in the shares? So number of shares increased. Every year dividend was declared. That adds to your 10,000. Plus the company earning profit declaring bonus. Earning profit declaring dividend. So your initial principal amount will keep on multiplying. That is beyond your imagination. Only when you give that time to grow. Like you are planted a seed, then you have to water it, and you need to give a time, right? That plant will grow, then it will become a tree. So, and in between, if you top up, so can I say it will be cherry on cake? You get a good jump.
Yeah. Got it.
So compounding effect, no doubt about it, because these good companies are dividend paying companies. They give you bonus, they give you split shares. So overall quantity and the price increase.
Got it. So if you were to, let's say, give a numerical example on this, from the stock market perspective, so we can't have fixed rate of growth, right? We need to have a much flexible rate of growth because it's market. So if you were to give a numerical example,
like you give me example, then I can put it in my own way. What exactly you want?
So let's say I buy at 100 and I wait for again 10 years because we are picking up 10 years, right? So now, of course, there won't be a constant rate of growth. Correct. There'll be, let's say, some days there will be 6% growth. Some days that can be 16% growth. So how will that work in my favor? How will the flexible or the volatile growth work towards compounding my money?
See, how you are supposed to calculate is that today is the month of May going on. Today, if you invested 1 lakh rupees, next May, that is 2021, what is the value of those shares? So 1 year down the line, you invested 1 lakh. 1 year down the line, you will check how much you would have earned. On an average, I would say it should be somewhere around 10 to 14% if it is a good company, keeping all possibilities under consideration. 10 to 14%.
Okay, 10 to 14%.
10 to 14%. And then if you hold it for 10 years, then you get an easy idea. Stock price, or if the profitability grows by 10 to 12% also, then every year 12%. This is the lower side I'm taking. It could be 21%, it could be 22%. This I'm taking very bare minimum.
Okay. So 10 to 12 should be the bare minimum. So if someone is, this
is very subjective.
Subjective to?
Stock to stock, it may differ. No? Some are high beta stocks. Like when market goes up, stock price of a particular share goes up very fast. They are called as high beta stocks.
Okay.
And when stock market falls, these companies also impact is huge. So if you have any company which has a high beta, then the growth rate will be very fast.
Got it. So one other point that one should add in their research is the beta factor as well, to calculate exactly what they are looking for.
Correct.
Okay. So I think with that, we conclude part 1 of this series, and we will continue with the conversation in part 2 and subsequent parts later on. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge.
Okay.
We'll meet you again.